is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. That's Ricky. I'm Roger. This is Sunday at 8 p.m. and we are live. Man, Ricky, what a difference a week makes. This time last week, we were coming off series wins against the Yankees and a walk-off win against the Padres to win the series, to go 4-2 on the week. This week, not so much. 2-4, rough Chase Burns start to start the week. And then basically just trying to play catch up and be competitive throughout the rest of the week against pretty decent teams. You know, the Red Sox, not necessarily world beaters, but they definitely they beat up on the Reds pitching in the first two games of the series at least. And then the Phillies, man, they got some guys that can pitch. And they got some guys out there that can get after it if they need to. Like, what was it? Bryson Stott, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So 2-4 week, going into the last week before the All-Star break, kind of a pivotal 7-game homestand that we'll talk about later. But how'd your week go, Ricky? Before we get into the Reds?
Yeah, it was okay. Anytime you see Chase Burns get lit up the way he did, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. But hey, he bounced back pretty well today, so I'll take that. Other than that, you know, you'd like to go 500, but hey, we didn't get swept, so that's all. It's all that matters.
Yeah.
What about you? How was your week?
It was good. It was nice to win on the 4th of July. We took a trip to my parents in the Chicagoland area. It was nice to see that 4th of July win. And the White Sox, they won their series too, so my dad was happy. So there you go. If there's anything, the White Sox are better than the Rockies. We can put that down on paper, seal it, put it in stone. Anyway, but no, the Reds didn't get swept, still hang the banner. That banner's still alive and well, and not necessarily I mean, it's indication that they don't give up on series. They have at least enough to not get swept. Because if they get swept by the, you know, like for example, the Red Sox, and they only got one win on the week, that's rough. Going right before the All-Star break, having a rough week like that. Hopefully this week is nothing like that. Hopefully we can stack some wins on the Marlins. So actually the Marlins have been hot. They had an 8-game winning streak and won like 9 out of 10 or something like that recently. So we can't take them lightly this coming week, but we'll get into that later. The Reds had Chase Burns go twice this week, which is kind of interesting to see two sides of Chase Burns this week. Luckily, this game against Philadelphia, he looked more like the Yankees version in that game that he debuted in. So
yeah, we didn't go live for that one, so that was probably for the best.
Maybe we will stay away from Chase Burns streaming games for sure. Yeah, we did do that, and I think we definitely kind of messed up his mojo or something, or maybe we I don't know. We did something to him to make his Fenway debut horrible. But anyway, what else? What other takeaways did you have this week?
I like what Williams says here. We ran into a guy that was just mowing through us, and it did. It reminded me a lot of when Roy Halladay tossed that no-hitter against us in the playoffs that year. I feel like that game just kind of ruined the playoffs for us. It just killed everything. We got swept, I believe, right? We got 3 games swept that year, and
2010, yeah.
Yeah, it stinks, you know, and to catch Wheeler on his game, I mean, he's obviously one of the best pitchers in the game. You wish that we had Hunter Green and not relying on Chase Burns to be the guy to save us in a series, but Chase Burns, he's gonna be that guy in the future. It's just we caught him on his 3rd start in his career. So yeah, heck of a job by Wheeler today. It really mowed us down. We got lucky that the one hit was a run, you know. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the overall, I guess, just aspect of the game today? Because that was a shellacking, if I had to say, just pitching wise for Wheeler.
Yeah, it felt like we were lucky to be even in the game, even though that we did get a good performance out of Burns. 4 and 2/3 inning. Sam Moll, which we'll talk about later, great. Ashcraft, great. Santillan, unfortunately, was the unlucky victim to give up the game-winning hit. But here's the thing. I was driving home from Chicago with my family, and guess how big Reds Nation is? Like, I was on 65 going south, about an hour north of Indianapolis, and I could get 700. It wasn't the clearest, I would say, but we were getting 700 WLW about an hour north of Indianapolis. And I was like, I'll take it. It wasn't the prettiest broadcast. Once we started getting closer to Indianapolis, obviously it was great. And then once we got south of there, it was clear. But at that point, that's when Stott hit his home run, and I was like, great, turn this off. Let's just get home. But that's how big Red Legs Nation is, and it's kind of crazy to think that we can pick up nearly Chicagoland area to get the WLW station. But hey, we'll take it.
Yeah, it reminds me of like our conversation with Jeff Carr. Locked on MLB. Sully had an episode where he talked about the Reds. They could find a way to tap into that Indianapolis market and Columbus market and Louisville market, because they've already got the AAA team in Louisville, and they got the Dayton Dragons, which is relatively close enough to Columbus. I mean, if you can tap into those markets, I mean, we become a larger market team. Not like LA or New York, but we could become just below that. It's just we got to tap into those markets. Yeah,
for sure. It kind of is geographically a huge market.
Yeah.
If we're going all the way out to West Virginia, going all the way
North
to
Carolina.
I think Huntsville, Alabama is the furthest south that we can has a television coverage map I was looking at. So we're talking about basically a pretty big chunk of the Midwest's north,
southeast,
like also a bit of the East Coast, North Carolina. So I guess you're right. It's a matter of tapping into it. One way to do it is basically to win games, and you win games, you get people to buy into, like the FanDuel, get subscriptions, or come to the ballpark, make the trip, go down to Bristol. It's less than a month away from the Speedway game, which they're kind of dropping in little things here and there, like. I saw Tyler Stevenson's his
catching gear. Stuff. Yeah, looks like Ricky Bobby.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Wonder Bread. Yeah. They're gonna be. I bet there's gonna be a lot that's gonna look like that, where they're gonna have little drips and drabs and showing, because they already showed, I think, a couple weeks ago or maybe a month ago, the jersey. The jersey's gonna have like a flag of like the checkered flag type of look to it. So they're gonna go all out trying to get that NASCAR market. So maybe that's what the Reds need to really tap into. Try to get those like you said, Southeast market. Maybe they need some more like Tennessee people and Kentucky people to buy into the Red Legs. But either way, the way to do it, like I said, is to win. 2-4, not great. This coming week, lots of opportunity. But any other takeaways from these last two series?
I guess just the last thing is that it was against two good teams. Boston, they've struggled lately, but they're trying to find their groove post Devers, and it looks like they're starting to get there. They got a bunch of young guys. What's his name? Roman Anthony. A couple young pitchers, a couple other young prospects too that are coming up. And they got some young guys, and they're kind of figuring it out too. And then with Philadelphia, I mean, they're a first-place team. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the National League. So to get one win, and, Suarez is a good pitcher. So, and it was against the lefty. So I'll take it. It sucks. You want to go at least 500, but we didn't get swept either series.
Yeah, for sure. They did end the streak of 8 straight series against non-NL Central opponent series wins. So that streak's over, unfortunately. We lost against, AL East Boston Red Sox to break that streak, and unfortunately didn't start a new streak against the NL East Philadelphia Phillies. But yeah, we've been actually kind of lucky, missing Skeens, missing a bunch of other aces of other ball clubs. So to see Suarez and Wheeler, it's bound to happen and bound to run into those kind of pitchers. You like to get more than one hit, obviously, but the Reds kind of did their Sunday folded up getaway day, trying to get back to Cincinnati, because they start tomorrow against the Miami Marlins for a 4-game set. Well, you like to at least get 3 wins from last week. Unfortunately, 2 out of 4 was the best they could muster, which kind of puts a little bit more pressure on this week. But, that's what you got to do. You got to win the games you can win and take the games you can. Like they got the one from Philadelphia, which when I looked at it, they're like 20 games over 500 around there, or like 15, 18 games above 500. So they're a really good team. Like they're not like some middling, like contender. They're right there. Or I think
they're 53-37 is Philadelphia.
Like 16 games over 500, leading their division because I think the Mets fell off like last week or a couple weeks ago. But anyway, they are legit, baseball team as far as I could tell. And just, obviously having a guy like Wheeler basically start it and finish it, have no problem except for one Austin Hayes home run. That's you can't really complain about that if you're going to the ballpark as a Phillies fan.
Oh, they were booing him, and he was taking it too. I don't know if you saw the clip of that. So he played for the Phillies last year, and he just was hurt the entire time. And he hits that home run, and they're booing him, and he's just it was great. It sinks because he's been hurt for us too. But when he's been on the field, he's been doing his job. You wish he was there longer.
Yeah, for sure. But he's been pretty legit this year. But another guy who's even been more legit for our ball club and has been recognized by the coaching and the voting. Didn't they do a player vote for the reserves?
Yeah, for the reserves, yeah.
So he was recognized to be his second All-Star appearance, Mr. Ellie De La Cruz. He will be representing the Red Legs. Hopefully, not the only one, but right now he is the lone representative for your Cincinnati Red Legs. He's going to be backing up, Francisco Lindor at short. I don't know. Do you think he's going to be the second guy or the third guy? It doesn't really matter at this point, but he's going to be playing one way or another after Lindor has played, 2 or 3 innings or something like that. But, what are your thoughts about this young guy, this 23-year-old making his second appearance in the All-Star game?
Yeah, if it wasn't for fan voting, I think he's hands down the favorite to be the starter. I mean, he's 277, 18 home runs, 60 RBIs, 22 stolen bases, 836 OPS. I mean, faster than light. I mean, he's everything to this franchise, the Reds, and he's going to be, I think, the face of the league in the next 3 years once Ohtani starts to kind of fade away a little bit. And, he's just 23 years old, second All-Star appearance in his, second full season?
Correct. Yep.
So, I mean, the 2 seasons he's played a full season, he's been an All-Star. So that's everything he did right there.
Yeah, and this isn't one of those, he's the sole representative type of thing, because Major League Baseball, we can get into this, I don't know, in this segment or maybe in some other segment, but Major League Baseball has that thing where every team has to have one guy represent. And I saw the White Sox guy as a rookie who has a 3-8 record, 4 ERA. So there's some weird things that happen with MLB All-Star appearances in terms of just kind of getting in because you're the best on your team, but there's sometimes some weird situations where I don't know. The Reds probably have had this kind of situation when they had their low point, just having one guy that just kind of represents the ball club, and you're like, yeah, I guess, sure, why not have him go to the All-Star game? But this guy, on the other hand, not that situation at all. Fully deserved, and like you said, probably if there's no fan vote, is the starter based on just numbers and reputation and impact, right? Because he's just not a guy that's putting up empty numbers. He's clutch. They like I said, they have that stat by Fangraphs that he's up there in the top 20 of clutch players. But he also has the acrobatic catch that you got out here with him. I think that was that Baltimore series way back when. So
yeah.
He's not just a hitter. He's not just a speed guy. Like you said, he could be that 5-tool guy that's going to be Ohtani's on the other side of 30 now. So he's 31. He's old man now. Right, to be honest with you, Ohtani, I don't know what he'll look like in a couple years, but yeah, for sure, he's definitely going to be. And Ellie, obviously also speaks English, which I'm not exactly sure if Major League Baseball has the same marketing opportunities around the All-Star game, But like, you know, like NBA, like all they do is like marketing around like the NBA All-Star game. And when you get there, you shake hands with sponsors and stuff like that. And Ellie kind of having a leg up on Ohtani, at least in this aspect, that he's marketable, also being young, speaks English really well, and also just has that electric smile and personality. Like I'm not even talking about like the stuff on the field, you know, like he's made to be an all-star, at least, you know, in terms of like the way we used to make all-stars for baseball. Now baseball is a bit more sanitized, and a lot of these guys just don't say anything or like, you know, even smile, like, right? Like you hit a home run, you just got to put your bat down nicely and you can't flip it or whatever type stuff. But he's not that. Ellie is an all-star in every sense of the word, and we're just lucky to have him here in Cincinnati for sure.
Yeah, and you said how he's not like a shoe-in player. He deserves to be a starter. It kind of reminds me of like 2015 Joey Votto, where, you know, he had a 7.7 WAR on the season, had led the league in walks, batted .314, slugged .541, had an OPS plus of 174. And the Reds finished 5th in the division that year. So, I mean, it's kind of like that would be like the shoe-in. And Votto didn't even make the All-Star team that year, which is incredible to say.
Really?
Todd Frazier was the lone all-star other than Chapman.
Dang.
So, yeah. So, I mean, Ellie leading the league in some categories. And plus, you know, people hate it, but the way he dresses, the way he carries himself, like he's got that personality that you just want to be around. And I think MLB is going to take advantage of it as much as they can. And it's in Atlanta this year, right? So it's somewhere that's kind of a bigger city. It's not a massive market, but I mean, if you can get the eyes on Ellie there, and then when eventually it goes to LA or it goes to New York or wherever else it may go, I mean, if you can get him in there, it's a win for Major League Baseball and for Ellie.
Absolutely. And also, the All-Star game is kind of a warm-up to the Speedway game that we kind of talked about to pump up Ellie's image across the league, because he's going up against Ronald Acuna Jr. August 2nd. I mean, I'm guessing that's how they're going to bill it. To be honest, it seems like the only way you really can, because those are the two superstars on those two teams. Even though the Braves are having a kind of terrible year, it should be at least electric to see those two guys out there playing on the field. And they even showed some images of what it's going to look like. They're breaking ground and stuff like that. So hopefully it's everything that everyone expects it and hopes it to be, because if anything, it should be a good television product with all the different, like, what it looks like, you know what I mean? Like, just the different, like, just like cavernous arena of 150,000 people potentially. Like, that'd be crazy just to see that just, you know, captured on TV.
Yeah, that'd be a cool game to go down there and broadcast live from if we could.
Yeah,
do a live watch along from the stadium. But I mean, that place would be so crowded. But we do have some friends going. Sir Boy Wonder's going. So that'd be cool. Maybe we can get some live feedback from him while he's down there. Yeah,
for sure. And I'm not sure if you want to get into this in this segment, but with the announcement of Ellie De La Cruz as an all-star reserve, also what ended up happening was a lot of snubs. And it wasn't just Andrew Abbott, if we want to even go there, but a guy who's 7-1 with like a 2 ERA doesn't get into the all-star game. Like, can we just stop and think about that for a second? That's ludicrous. Like, he's been the guy since Hunter's gone down. He's been the guy that's won games even when probably, you know, the Reds had no chance. For one example, like, they won 1-0 against the, you know, Cleveland Guardians. Like, he won that game, much like how Zach Wheeler won the game today. It's I guess I don't know what to say except for, like, this seems like a huge snub.
Yeah, I got a take. Up to this point, July 6th, 2025, Andrew Abbott is the Reds MVP.
Wow.
And let me tell you why. 7-1, 2.15 ERA. He had the bad game on the 4th, but he was kind of due for a bad game, if you want to be honest about it.
Sure.
3 1/3, 9 hits, 4 runs. Still didn't walk anybody. That's been his game this year. He's not walking anybody. But he did have the 2 strikeouts. Guys were just hitting him. And if you go back and you look at some of his previous starts, he had a 1.79 ERA up until this past start. Okay. And for the month of June, he had only walked 4 guys. And for the month of May, he walked 10 guys. And he had 7 starts in May. And he had an ERA of 1.51 as of May 30th. So, I mean, he's been the sole reason up to this point. I mean, obviously, you got Ellie on offense, but Ellie's, it's not every game he's performing, but he has been probably offensively the Reds' best player. But if you want to go as far as the Reds' best pitcher, Andrew Abbott's been the Reds' best pitcher this season. And it's kind of a shame that he didn't get into the All-Star game. Now, there's a chance. There's probably going to be some guys that pitch on Sunday and some guys that maybe get hurt or maybe just kind of, pull something and then they get that extra break. But Andrew Abbott, I would have rather seen him get in over Ellie just because I think Abbott deserved it more. But obviously Ellie's going to get in just based off of his name alone and his play.
Yeah, and you kind of think that the way that they broke it down for like the Reds is like, okay, they're 4th in their division, more than one All-Star. Is it? You know what I mean? Like, because Jeff Carr wrote a piece just recently, and we were talking about it a little bit before we went on air. And Jeff basically breaks it down that the only reason why Abbott didn't get in over, say, a guy like Matthew Boyd, a Cubs left-handed pitcher, is because Abbott didn't pitch as much as him. He doesn't have as much innings as Matthew Boyd because Abbott, compared to Boyd, head-to-head, has more baseball reference WAR, better ERA plus, better strikeout rate, and is the only one to toss a complete game, shutout, as we mentioned the Guardians game before. So, like, I get it. The Cubs, they're first place in their division. I'm sure Matthew Boyd's a great player. Shout out to him, I guess. But I don't know. I guess we're pro Andrew Abbott. We've been singing his praises so much that we thought he'd be a potential, at least in the running, to be a starter because I think Chris Sale's still hurt, so they're going to have to replace him potentially. I don't think he's been activated off the IL as far as I know. But yeah, I guess okay, put more Cubs guys in there. Congrats. Whatever.
You want a crazy stat
about Abbott?
Yeah. So he has only allowed more than 1 earned run 3 times this season.
And 4th of July, one of them?
4th of July and June 4th. No. June 4th, he allowed 5 earned runs. And then you have to go all the way back to April 25th. He allowed 4. Every other start's been 1 or 0.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good thing. Maybe let's make sure he doesn't pitch on August 4th because he seems to not do well on the 4th of July. And then September 4th, no pitching for him either. So let's make sure. But yeah, I don't know. That's silly. It's obviously it was kind of talked about a little bit. I saw some stuff before the All-Star nominations for the reserves had come out or whatever, and they're talking about how it could be a potential snub. And I'm like, really? Like, what could we do this? Like, is this? And then, I get it. He missed, the first 4 weeks of the season because he was working on his shoulder or whatever and came out of spring training a little bit banged up. But, I don't know. It's kind of weird. And, yeah, I think I texted you back about Kershaw, though. But I guess he's, an added player. He's not actually counting into the numbers of All-Stars. He's kind of like a Lifetime Achievement Award type of thing. I don't know. Is he going to actually pitch, or is he just going to be there to hold a trophy saying, I used to be good,
Well, I think they did that. Did they do it for Miguel Cabrera and somebody else?
Who retired?
I get it, but they're not all-stars. It's like they're Hall of Famers. Let them have their moment in Cooperstown when they have their moment. They're not an all-star this year.
Yeah.
You know, maybe bring him onto the field and celebrate him, but don't name him an all-star. You know, they don't deserve it. You know, congratulations, Clayton Kershaw. You've had 3,000 strikeouts on your career, but you're the fifth starter for the Dodgers.
Mm.
You know, I don't want to get started. I'm gonna go down some crazy rant. If he didn't pitch on the Dodgers, I don't think that he's getting in the All-Star game this year.
No, it's kind of weird. I thought it'd be like, if it was in Los Angeles this year, like, okay, yeah, that makes a little sense. He's at home. You don't have to put him on an airplane to go to Atlanta or anything like that. I guess. I don't know. I guess the lifetime achievement thing is what they're just trying to do because, like, I don't know, like we were talking about with, like, Ellie a little bit versus Ohtani, like, celebrating the big faces and names of the game isn't necessarily, like, MLB isn't necessarily really good at that, right? Like the marketing aspect. Survey Wonder always talks about how they're great at marketing. Not like so basically we're just like, I think they're trying that. Like they're just like, hey, here's a big face, Miguel Cabrera. He's made a lot of All-Stars. We're just going to give him like an honorary. It's like when you go to like those famous people or like celebrities that get honorary doctorates or whatever from school. Yeah. You're just doing that basically for baseball. It's an honorary All-Star. It should. That's why I was asking. You think he's gonna pitch? I feel like he shouldn't pitch. He should just be like, they should put a rocker out there and like as if it's like a retirement tour, and just give him like a bunch of stuff from guys that he's played against in the past. That's how I would do it. Just like
And Joey Votto didn't get his moment last year, so that's another thing. So.
2023 could have been an honorary one. Did they only start it last year?
No, they did it. They did it the year before last because they had Miguel Cabrera and whoever else. I forget. There was somebody else that did it the same year, but they had two of them that they did it for. I'm pretty sure that was 2023.
Yeah, I got to look up now because now I'm like saying like 2023 should have been Joey's honorary All-Star year. No, you have to look at this up. But anyway, the point being is like it's just kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. Like I guess I'm not too upset about it to see Kershaw there. He has gotten his 3,000 against the White Sox, ironically. But what are you gonna do there? It just good for him. That's all I can really say. I really hope he doesn't play. Like I don't know why I'm really hung up on this, but it'd be kind of weird to take someone's spot who.
He took Andrew Abbott's spot. Let's be real.
Well, I thought it was an additional spot. Like I didn't think it was actually a part of the roster. I thought it was like.
I hope that's the case.
I'm pretty sure someone clarified that on Twitter. Somebody was talking about that.
Did anybody in the AL get one?
That's why. Yeah, I was trying to think. I don't know if this is like a thing that they're just trotting out there for the I guess they did with Cabrera. I don't know if they just do it randomly or is it just something. We probably should have done this research ahead of time, huh?
Well, there wasn't a whole lot out there.
Right. It just had this asterisk when you sent it to me. I'm like, is this a thing? Like, is this a thing that they're doing going forward? But yeah, I'm trying to.
It was funny. I tried to find 2023, and all it did was just give me a list of all-stars, and Wander Franco was an all-star in 2023. So, not a good look.
Yeah, that ain't well at all. But yeah, I don't know. To put more cap on the Abbott thing, and Juan Soto wasn't named an all-star, and it's not like the Mets are in the basement. What are some other guys that got snubbed that I was reading about? It was kind of weird to see so many players that you think should be there. Maybe they don't have the resume, or maybe they, aren't on a good enough team. But it felt like, I don't know, a situation where you're like, what did we do here for this all-star, selection?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the Mets, I'm like, I'm kind of angry about my contract. If your highest paid player in baseball is not an all-star.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another show, I guess.
Right, but yeah, I don't know. Does he get like incentives like to the contract to be like that?
It should be like a reverse incentive where he's got to give money back if he doesn't do it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, yeah, just like it could. There may be some situations where it kind of de-incentivizes the contract if he doesn't hit certain markers. But I don't know. Baseball's always got guaranteed contracts, so it ends up being a situation where he's probably going to make his money no matter what. But
yeah, on Bleacher Report, I guess to kind of stay on this topic, and then we'll transition. But they have the number 1 ranked snub as Andrew Abbott, and then number 2 is Juan Soto, Christopher Sanchez for Philadelphia, Joe Ryan for Minnesota, Michael Busch for Chicago Cubs, Seiya Suzuki for the Cubs, Carlos Navarez for the Red Sox, Junior Caminero for the Tampa Bay Rays, Jackson Holiday, which I guess I wouldn't really call him a snub. He's batting .251.
Gunnar Henderson was also snubbed, I guess you could say.
And then George Springer, but he just got hurt, so there's a chance he probably wouldn't have played anyway. But yeah, Andrew Abbott, number 1 ranked snub according to Bleacher Report.
And that says it all, folks. Like that's about all I can really do there. Is just hopefully, like you said, someone maybe gets injured, someone needs to be replaced. The first call up will be Mr. Andrew Abbott. We'll wait and see. That's what happened with Hunter last year anyway. Hunter wasn't named at the All-Star game, and we were kind of in the same position last year, going like, are you kidding? Like, this guy's pitching out of his mind. And he's not necessarily like – it wasn't just like a couple starts. It was the whole first half of the season. But then he ended up getting that injury call-up and joined Ellie. Was that down in Texas last year? So.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could talk about this probably for another 30 minutes if we're allowed to. But we will transition now to a guy who's been getting really hot, a guy that, maybe he's got a future all-star appearance in him down the road. Mr. Spencer Steer has been really heating up. We've well documented his, all the way up to this point, his kind of like struggles, his getting hot, building up, kind of documented how he's basically turned into the most reliable first baseman for the Redlegs, and basically he's made himself. You can't take him out of the lineup. Basically, even if CES is playing first base, Steer gets put out there in left field, which is not necessarily his strongest position, or maybe the best for the ball club. Excuse me, but he at least will give everything he can every single day. And I think there was even a situation in the Red Sox series where he hurt his hand and then tried to play the next day, and then he was a late scratch. I could just see like in my mind's eye, him going to Tito's office, like, man, just play. Don't worry about my hand. It's wrapped up. It's bloodied. It's bruised. Don't worry about that. I'll go out there and I'll play kind of thing. Like just being that annoying guy, like, put me in, coach. At least that's how I see it, because he never not plays, right? Like, I don't think he's taken a day off except for that day that he got hurt in the Boston series. So, well, what are your takeaways from Mr. Spencer Steer getting hot?
Yeah, he's kind of cooled down over his last 7 in particular. This Philadelphia series, he had 3 hits. But over his last 15 games, he's batting .375, slugging .696, 4 homers. He had that 3 home run game. He's finally, man, it's been a rough season for him this year. He's batting .253, if you can believe that. For a long time, he was batting below 100 and barely over 100 for a very long time. So to see him hitting above his career average, he's got 10 home runs. So OPS 720, not great, but it's serviceable compared to where he was to start the season. Yeah, he's famously, knock on wood, never been placed on the IL in his career. I don't think dating back to college, you never even missed time significantly. So I don't know how future he is. He's 27. We do have like 3 more years of team control, I believe, because his team control started in 23. So, I mean, if he can produce and be just a serviceable player, he could be what TJ Friedl is right now, just with more power. And I don't know. It's good to see him performing finally.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a complete year since we saw this version of Spencer Steer, because there's that famous, Jim Day podcast interviewed about him running into a wall in June 2024. And basically since then just been kind of, playing at 50%, maybe that might be putting it the nicest way possible, is that he just wasn't himself, doesn't want to get out of the lineup, doesn't want to be demoted, which makes me wonder, like a lot of these guys are like called up, demoted from time to time, but like it ends up being like, are these guys like in charge of like their like player careers in some sort? Like I can see like them going to Spencer and be like, hey, Spencer, you're hurt. We like you to option you to AAA, for a little bit, work on your shoulder, get some stim work, get your shoulder right. And he's like, no, I don't think so. Like I don't know, like how does that go? Like, or is it a situation where they make a mutual decision and he's just like adamant about like, dude, I want to play every day. I'm not getting any younger. I'm playing for my contracts and all this stuff like that. I don't know. Like, it's kind of a strange situation. It feels like also this conversation is the same one we had about McLean maybe a couple weeks ago or maybe more recent, where like he's finally back. He's above the Mendoza line. He's hitting 250, contributing consistently and being a valued above replacement player in the field and at bat, which that's what we need. Like I don't know what to say other than like I think when we had the McLean conversation, I think I asked you, would it have been better if he did get sent down just to come back up and maybe have that spark that like being reinvigorated by playing against some minor leaguers for a couple weeks or a week stretch, and then boom, coming back to the majors? Like, is that the same? Do you think that would be would he have gotten back quicker if he did that?
I don't know. We see guys like CES that they go down to AAA and they just rake, and then they come back up here and they just struggle. So, like, at least we know Steer can hit major league pitching. And it's funny, I'm looking at Baseball Reference now, and for the longest time in this season, Steer was a negative WAR player, and he's now up to a .4. Ooh. So he's making some run here. But yeah, I don't know. I guess in a perfect world, Candelario performed, and you wouldn't have had to worry about Steer, and you could have just had him on the IL to start the season.
Yeah.
And then who knows what happens at that point. But it is kind of funny that when you see Steer, it seems like he started kind of figuring it out the moment he started playing in left field a little bit. And when that happened, yeah, he had that horrendous throw home that was like a 9-hopper to the plate. And yeah, I think that was just like his first test. And he's been playing first. He looked pretty bad starting out the season at first. He had a couple plays in the Baltimore series where he didn't look great. I mean, I've never seen a guy with his whole foot on the entire bag at first base. Usually you go for the corner. But he's turned it around. He's become one of the better defensive first basemen that, or I'd say at least in the National League. And, if he can, had he had started, maybe he does have a higher average, maybe some more home runs. But if he can figure it out now and just be more consistent, and if McLean can figure it out also, and like this offense is finally starting to warm up. You called it when the calendar hits June. It's our favorite month to get hot, and we did. And it's funny. I saw on the broadcast today that we had a stretch from, I think it was May 23rd when we played the Cubs that weekend. We're like 26, and it was like 4 games over 500 or something like that. So it's good to see. We had it was like 13 teams with potential playoff aspirations. So we got hot at the right time. Even though it doesn't look like we got hot, we're still in 4th place. We're I think a game and a half, 2 games out of a wild card spot.
Yeah.
But if you would have said we were 6 games out of the division and a game and a half, 2 games out of a wild card spot after April, I mean, that's good.
Yeah, this is always a funny team, and a lot of offenses do warm up as the summer months come around and whatnot, especially the further north teams and whatnot that have colder springs. But it just seems kind of weird that this team, I don't know, like has to learn on the job. Like you were talking about just with Spencer Steer, like he's learning first base, and we have the famous Marty quote that we always say is like, you shouldn't be learning the basics at the major league level. But I don't know if that's a function of the fact that our roster's not great, so we have to do that kind of thing where we're learning at the major league level. We're we're having guys basically kind of develop in front of us and at the majors instead of maybe where they should be in AAA. So it's kind of a weird kind of scenario. Matt McLean was kind of in that same camp as well, but we're glad that we're here at this point, and it's not a situation where we're talking about them hitting 170 still, or like just not knowing how to play first base like that. We're at least past that.
Yeah.
You like to think that we can keep building on this and maybe not have the same type of scenario start in April 2026, for example. But, there's obviously different scenarios once we get to that point. But I don't know. It seems kind of a strange phenomenon that, Spencer Steer and McLean and, like CES popped up here and hit well, and Benson hit well at times. The only one that really hasn't got going, which is unfortunate because we're, big supporters, Rhys Hines. Rhys Hines is not – I wouldn't be surprised he gets optioned down, or if he already has. He hasn't really shown to be, I don't know, hitting major league, pitching, or got at least a hang of it, because he seems every time I see him go up there, he's swinging and missing and is not making contact or fouling pitches off or anything.
Yeah, it looks like he's swinging for the fences.
Yeah, but that's his thing, right? Like he's got that I don't know if that's like his mentality or if it's just how he's built. He's going to go out there to hit home runs. It hasn't really, materialized. I'm glad for Benson that he has kind of evolved his swing where he's not always just hitting for the fences. He's had some really good moments for the Redlegs, this past month, and hopefully will continue to do so and be a regular player going forward. But, I don't know. It feels like a lot of these guys kind of have to figure it out by playing, and that is baseball a little bit. You just don't want them to have all the growing pains and cost you wins when this division's tough, man. Like you said, fourth in the division. If I think this time last year, if the Reds had this, they would be like second in the division behind the Brewers. I think I was looking back because funny you mentioned like being behind the Cubs 7 games. You know where the Cubs were at this point last year? They're last place in the division. They're 40 and 48, and the Pirates were third, and the Reds were fourth. So like,
jeez.
Or no, the Reds were, maybe it was flipped. Anyway, the point being is like the Cubs had blown so many games in like June and May last year that they were bottom of the division. They ended up climbing up to 83 wins, but it was just funny to look back at that and how they struggle, and kind of wish you could recreate that going forward.
Yeah, I have a comparison on Baseball Reference. Oh man, it's sad. Hines has played in 14 games. Christian Encarnacion Strand played in 34, and Hines is a negative 0.4 WAR, and CES is a negative 0.6 WAR. I mean, obviously, Encarnacion Strand has more stats, more games played, and all that. But I mean, Hines has 5 hits. CES has 26.
Right.
And OPS plus 62 for CES, 11 for Hines. And part of it is Hines hasn't played much, but he's got kind of reverse splits. He hits righties better than lefties, but we just don't have any lefties that can hit lefties. So you're kind of forced to have him face lefties. But I mean, part of the main problem was we had Jacob Hurtubise and Blake Dunn up when we could have had Hines up here. So, and I don't know. I'm not out on CES either. It's
right.
Just he's never hit major league pitching his entire career. He had a couple. I mean, he's had some clutch hits when he does hit. He had the grand slam against Boston. That was huge. Put us up in the game. Ended up winning the game because of that. He had the walk-off against the Blue Jays in 23. He had I think his first career hit was a home run against the Giants. And I don't know. It's just he mashes at every level. But when he gets up here, guys just don't throw strikes up here. They locate their pitches and they pitch. Mm. So his chase rate is way too high at this moment. And I feel like they're kind of doing him a disservice by not playing him up here, but he's sitting. And I think he just needs to go to AAA, play third base every day. And I don't know, maybe I'd even consider a move to the outfield for him. To me, I don't know how first base long term looks for him because you're gonna have Cam Collier coming up in a couple of years. Steer's playing well, and you hate to have a young guy just relegated to the DH, but like that play with Ellie and him, that was the error. I mean, that was I don't know if there was just no communication or what happened, but it was just an ugly play that I don't think Marte gets in his way, or if he gets in his way, he gets the ball. And Espinal for sure, Def doesn't make that play either.
Yeah, I think the play you talk about against the Phillies were, I don't know. I think generally in that scenario, if the third baseman thinks he's got a chance at it, he goes in front of the shortstop and takes it. I don't know if CES didn't trust that he could get there, and he didn't, didn't trust his instincts and go all out for it, because he kind of just knocked it away from Ellie, who, like, if he doesn't get there and he pulls up earlier, possibly Ellie has a chance at the ball at throwing the guy out at first. Neither here nor there. CES seems like a guy without a home. He's got inconsistent bat, but he also doesn't seem to have a consistent position either. Now that Steers, kind of established himself as a above average first baseman, and third base doesn't look like CES's position. You might be right. Outfield might be the chance, especially if they decline Hayes' left field option. Like, he could be maybe the left fielder next year. Maybe.
Yeah, he played left field in the fall league last year. So I mean, they saw something there to where he's athletic enough. I don't think he gets enough credit for his athleticism. Like, he's an athletic guy, and obviously he's not a shortstop athletic guy, but he's athletic enough to where he's more athletic than Kyle Schwarber, and Kyle Schwarber played left field for the Cubs. So I mean, we need outfielders, and he needs a spot. So that's one of those things that I wouldn't be surprised if potentially he moves out there. And William put in the chat about Hines. Yeah, Hines does not have a hit versus lefties this year.
Great. All right. Well, speaking of lefties and a guy that's back, Mr. Sam Mole, a guy that we literally wrote off this time last week, talking about where is Sam Mole, and we're like, well, he's, basically just down in AAA, hanging out, not doing too much, getting a 8 ERA down to a 7 ERA for the last 2 months, and I guess that doesn't matter if you have been at the major league level like he has for a long time. Maybe you're trying out stuff. Maybe you're getting hit because, I don't know, like, guys are just out there trying to prove themselves, and he might be throwing too much over the plate. But when he got up here against Boston, he kind of saved Chase Burns. I think Suter came in right after Chase Burns struggled on Monday. But then Sam Mole came in and kind of cleaned up things and pitched the other day. And I think he pitched in the win against the Philadelphia Phillies, I want to say. But, man, how about Sam Mole? Like, we called it dead, DUN done. Not anymore. Sam Mole is back. What are your thoughts on Mr. Mole?
Yeah, he comes back, faces Boston, 2 innings, perfect, 4 strikeouts. Comes back in on July 4th, 1 in the 3rd, no hits, no walks. Comes back in today, gets 1 out, a hit, and a strikeout. I mean, he's been spectacular. He was so bad to start the season. I think there was a stat, if I remember right, that he had never had a passed ball or a wild pitch.
Really?
And he threw like 4 straight. Or it was like 4 in back-to-back at bats. And it just seemed like he just didn't have anything, maybe like a case of the yips in a way. And he goes down to AAA, sucks for a little bit, had some games, but then there was more games than most where he was giving up a couple hits, couple runs, home runs. And I don't know if we can get this Sam Mole. I mean, I'm not expecting the no hits, no runs Sam Mole, but if we can get a lefty reliever that we desperately need. Taylor Rogers has been brutal. I remember there was a stretch at the beginning of the season where people were just looking at Rogers' stats. Oh, he's got a 1.15 ERA. He's doing really good. But did you look at his inherited runners rate? Like he was every time he had runners on, guys were scoring. It didn't matter. But I don't know. It's I'm just glad to see Mole. We need a lefty, and he came in and threw 3 2/3 innings coming back, and he's been great.
Yeah, and surprisingly so, because like you mentioned, Suter is kind of the cleanup guy. A guy's going to come in whenever they need a big spot to like pitch multiple innings or save people or be an opener or whatnot. And Rogers wasn't the guy to bring in as that lefty out of the bullpen. I don't expect Samuel, like you said, to do this all season. In fact, I feel like he's a bit of a stopgap before maybe they trade for another guy, or maybe the front office kind of says, hey, this is the guy. This is the trade acquisition we got is a new reinvigorated Samuel coming out of AAA, throwing gas, getting whiffs and stuff like that. I don't know. To me, it seems like I think this is going to be more of a, not necessarily he's going to be able to perform this way all the remaining of the season. I think, like you had mentioned, like him being a smaller guy and having a lot of mileage possibly on that arm might wear him down a lot quicker than some other guys. But he seems to have got it now, and you got to use him, I guess, right now until his arm falls off again, or he starts getting hit crazy amount. So I don't know. It's a weird phenomenon. I kept texting you every time I saw Sam Mole come in and get the job done. I'm like, hey man, he's back. We got. So I didn't go so far to say extend Sam Mole, because I know this is going to have basically a kind of a expiration date. But I just wanted to enjoy it for as long as we can, because he hasn't been good, just to say the least. He's been kind of struggling. So we'll take whatever we can get from him right now.
Yeah, and I don't know what this means towards Rogers' season. Maybe he gets DFA'd. Maybe, I don't know if somebody wants to take a flyer and make a trade for him, but lefty relievers are always a necessity around the league, so maybe they can get cash or something from him, a minimum. But getting Mole back is like I said, it's huge, and we needed a lefty, and I'm just glad that he came in and just didn't disappoint.
Yeah, for sure. Just Brian had commented that we've been struggling offensively, and yeah, that's for sure. The Reds always seemingly always have like these games where they score like the 9 runs. I think they went 6 for 12 with runners in scoring position on that July 4th game. But I want to say the next day against the Phillies, they went over 12 or over 13 or something like that for runners in scoring position. So it's like it's a have or have-nots type of offense. And we've already kind of documented where they have those 3 straight games of 1-0 losses, getting no offensive production, to, the Easter 24 runs, or scoring, 10 runs against the Astros in the first inning. Like, this is feast or famine for this offense. So to have a decent bullpen is paramount, because we need to stay in games. And the bullpen did their job pretty well today up until Santillan, unfortunately giving up that home run. But, like, they're not going to be perfect, unfortunately. We don't have, like the huge big arms that can get the job done, which is why we've been kind of echoing, Nick Kirby's point. Like, we might need trade deadline help for the pitching staff and maybe the bullpen, because we've got guys that are out there. Barlow and Santillan are out there every single game, it seems like, or every other game, where they're getting up there in the league leaders in appearances. So whatever we can get from Sam Mole, we'll take it, because that means less innings, hopefully, for Barlow and Santillan, and Fred's favorite, Mr. Rogers. So hopefully we'll be able to get some reinforcements one way or another. Maybe it's Luis May. Maybe it's Zach Maxwell. I don't know, but we need something.
Yeah, that's about all I got on Mole. I mean, we do need help, and I don't know exactly who you go after. And I know Mike Hart, who I do the Chatterbox pregame show with, he had mentioned going after righties with reverse splits.
Yeah,
maybe. And then like Fred says in the chat, Buck Farmer's on the way. It's funny enough, he had a pretty good outing for the ACL Reds the other day. So maybe him in Cincinnati is kind of like just glue on paper. It's it's just what it is, because he's been really good for the Reds for him, and I think we kind of abused his free agency years that he had, and if he can go back in, and he could be a serviceable reliever as well, and like Sean Melvin says in the chat, also Carson Spires, he could be coming back here relatively soon too. He had an ACL appearance where he pitched 2 1/3, and I believe he only had a hit in those innings. So, I mean, if we can get him in and put him in the bullpen, I mean, that's huge, because he was the 5th starter to start the season. So to get him in the bullpen, he could give us that length that we need too. That should Hunter Green come back and potentially Louder come back, you can move Martinez to the pen too and have 2 guys that have length in the bullpen.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, we'll have that good problem where we have a bunch of guys that are all fighting for position, but basically get out there. It's nice to have Ashcraft back as well, because he looked great today. It sounded like he was getting a bunch of whiffs on his. Was it the first time he's been back, or did he?
It was the second game back. He had a walk. He walked Harper, but thank God he walked Harper.
Yeah, right.
But he had him down 0-2, and then he just threw 4 consecutive balls. But his cutter was 99, 100, and his slider was just breaking. But Ashcraft, we can get the good Ashcraft. I like our bullpen if we can get those guys and they can be consistent.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, hopefully we'll have good problems where we got a bunch of guys out there, and hopefully we can get that all going sooner than later. But yeah, forgot all about Spires as well, Fred.
Yeah,
he had been hurt. And Connor Phillips came up here and had a couple good appearances up until that grand slam against the Boston Red Sox this week. So I don't know if they optioned him down yet, or if he's going to kind of stick around the bullpen for a little bit too. So, yeah, we'll have a bunch of arms. Maybe we aren't going to make any trades. Maybe we're just going to depend on some guys kind of coming through and basically, hopefully putting some sort of bullpen together. Because it feels like Tito had a pretty good handle on who he wanted to go to, I don't know, a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. Kind of the rotation he wanted to go through, kind of figured it out. But I think injuries have forced him to kind of change it up, Ashcraft in particular. And then also just using Barlow and Santillan so much, he probably needs to figure out a different way to employ his bullpen. But that's for the manager to figure out, not for us. We're just here partial in, observers and trying to make the best of whatever these guys do. But yeah, any other thoughts about the bullpen or Mr. Sam Mole?
Not on Mole, but I have the stats pulled up. Carson Spires pitched 2 1/3, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts in his ACL rehab assignment. Yeah,
usually it's pretty offensive, like good offensive numbers come out of ACL. A lot of guys get beat up kind of pitching down there, but also they're pitching against pretty like rookie ball players. So hopefully he's had more success than getting beat up. But there's that. Another guy that beats up on pitching, and a guy that we have a segment on that we've been kind of throwing in there. We're going to try to make this a regular segment for you guys. It's a pretty simple segment. I don't know. We'll see how nuanced we can get into it. We won't hopefully go too deep down it, but the segment's called Elly De La Cruz. Is he good? Ricky?
He's good.
All right. Fun fact. Look, there. He is good. And he is an all-star. So, spoiler alert, he's going to be on your television for the midseason classic. Will not be in the home run derby, which, modern home run derbies, at least, I don't know. It feels like the last 20 years have like the post all-star break for a lot of these guys that participate in the home run derby, especially if you go deep into it, messes up their swing or potential injury or overuse or tiredness, fatigue. So now all of a sudden, like declining the home run derby is like a positive thing, which is kind of weird because you usually Fred confirms, Elly, he's good. So
it's official.
All right, segment's over. I'll stop talking about home run derbies and stuff like that. We can't can't go that much further. But now we'll come to our part of the show where we're gonna break out our Red Hot Red of the Week. This segment, I try to pick a couple guys so that we don't overlap with Rick. But this week is kind of hard, man. Like, I got a couple that I'm thinking about because it's been 2-4. You don't necessarily have a tremendous amount of outstanding performances, but maybe there's some guys that flew under the radar this week for the Red Legs. Who's your red hot red of the week, Rick?
It's been a struggle finding one. I'm going to go a little off the board here. I'm going to go with Chase Burns.
That was one of mine, actually.
Was it? And I'm only saying that because he had the terrible outing at the beginning of the week. And he comes back today. Yeah, he gave up a run that, honestly, he didn't technically give up. It was an inherited runner. But he came in the first inning, and he struggled.
Yeah.
He couldn't locate his pitches. I think he had a 4-pitch walk, and then he had a couple where he was just down 3-0, 3-1, walked the guy. And then he battled back. And then after that first inning, he was just lights out. And I think Zach Cozart had tweeted earlier. He had said, find it. He had said that I have to keep reminding myself that fans and people in general are never satisfied. Burns 3 innings scoreless so far with 6 strikeouts after getting bombed last outing. And fans are so quick to point out he's got 65 pitches through 3 innings. And I said, some people just think young pitchers should just have everything figured out. The fact that he's doing this after the Boston start is showing he's progressing in the right direction. And
absolutely,
it's true, because had he had come out, had that terrible first inning, and then came out and did it again and just got shellacked. I mean, Burns showed me something today that he belongs up here. He's going to figure it out. And then when he gets command and he's throwing strikes, he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. That's how I feel about him.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. And that was basically my reasoning too, is that you have the great debut against the Yankees. You get hit around. Basically, I don't know if we've confirmed or not confirmed that he was tipping pitches. There was a bunch of stuff going around on Twitter that the way he was squeezing his glove for, I think, the off-speed spit, the slider, was showing his different hand grip on the ball, potentially. Because, I mean, a lot of these guys, they're trained to look at any little subtle difference of what the pitcher might be doing to try to get an edge on a guy who's throwing 100 miles an hour, right? Like, you want to try to figure out whatever it is. I'm not saying exactly that's what Boston was doing, but it pretty, like, there was some circumstantial evidence that it could have happened, and hopefully he's learned from that. Looks like he's kind of at least bounced back in a strong way against the Phillies. Another good ball club. Like, I don't know, man. Like, is he gonna like catch like all these guys that are like all these great? Like, is he gonna start out and pitch against the Dodgers after the All-Star break? Basically,
feels like it.
Just throw him out there to the Wolves, why don't you?
He's playing every historic team he could face.
Yeah. You mean the Miami Marlins aren't historic? 2-time World Series winners. Anyway, but that's besides the point. The other guy that I was thinking was Sam Moll. I think he's had a great week, which I don't know if that kind of shows what kind of week the Reds had. That a relief pitcher is basically one of your best players or best performers of the week. He definitely has come from, as we talked about in the other segment, a rough AAA, a rough spring training, and had a rough start to the season at the big league level as well. So to have him bounce back and pitch well, I'm not sure if we're going to get a lot from him going forward, but we'll take it this week.
Yeah, and I guess honorable mention, the numbers don't show it, but Austin Hayes getting a hit in every game that he's been back. It's a good sign. And the home run today too.
Yeah.
So that's about all I got for the red hot red of the week. It's been a pretty poor week, I guess stats wise, but there's potential in our red hot reds of the week.
Shout out CES for hitting grand slam while we were in the middle of an interview with Jeff Carr. So like,
I had to break the news. I was like, guess what?
Yeah. So I mean, we got a W while on air, which we'll take that anytime.
It hasn't happened before. It's happened now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we put this 8 p.m. on Sunday to avoid the Sunday game, but now that Sunday night baseball is going away, I don't think there'll ever be a breaking home run during our Sunday shows. But yeah, all right. Fred says Sam Mole watches the show. Confirmed.
Yeah,
Hey,
Sam
man,
Mole, welcome anytime on the show.
come on out, man. We'll take it. We Red Hot Red of the Week, Sam Mole.
There we go. I like it.
All right. Now, Ricky's got for this segment not a Reds Facebook comment, but a Reds Twitter, Red X comment of the week. And unfortunately, this week I think probably was ripe for a lot of social media comments because Chase Burns went 1/3 of an inning on Monday, and the Reds had one hit today. So it's a heck of a week for the haters, I would say. But Ricky, is that comment ready to go?
Yes, it is right here. It says, I'll say it again. Terry Francona is not a serious manager in the year 2025. He's a dinosaur whose only positive trait is his personality. Reds would have a better record with David Bell as manager. Well, I don't know if he knows this, but in 2024, our May record was atrocious. I think we had 9 wins in May.
9 and 18, yeah.
We were over 500 in May this year. So for as bad as this team's looked, we were over 500 in May, and we are over 500 currently, which we weren't at this point last season.
No, it's funny that you bring that up, or the guy brings up, or girl brings up David Bell, because I don't know, maybe it's just because, it's hard to remember history, hard to remember how bad David Bell would get it if he pulled a pitcher in the 5th inning and the guy hasn't gone that, okay. We're trying not to put the guy's name out there, Fred, because we're not trying to get him doxxed or nothing, but I don't know. It could be someone in the Reds community that we know. Is it someone we know, Rick? Hopefully not.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen the person.
Okay, good. But anyway, the point being is that, 2024 was the year that was to build on the great 2023. And to quote your famous Jamer Candelario tribute video, 2024 went, you know what I mean? Like, it was just a big part of just bad baseball, bad errors, bad base running, a lot of strikeouts, a lot of undisciplined play. If anything, that's the one thing that you should first see between the 2024 club and 2025 club. Obviously, a lot of those guys are a year older, a year wiser, but as a team, they're not getting swept. A, we've pointed that out a lot in the show. B, they are way, way more disciplined on the base pass, way, way more disciplined defensively. And they're just not giving away games like they did in 2024. It feels like we're not 10 games above 500 and right there with the Cubs, right? But we're giving ourselves a chance.
You want to know what our record was on July 6th, 2024?
I was looking that up because I was trying to figure out the Cubs were in last place with
41 and 48.
Wow.
And we got swept 3 or 4 times in May.
Yeah.
So I don't get the David Bell love in this city because it's not like he ever did anything. I don't dislike him. I just don't understand why everyone's just so enamored by his managing style. He never did anything. We made the playoffs one time, and it was in a Mickey Mouse 2020 where they expanded the playoffs to half the league.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I said, it's just trying to remember history in the context of obviously going 2-4 this week feels terrible. But to be honest with you, if there's been weeks that I think the Reds got swept under David Bell, and it's just I don't know how you defend the guy then, right? Because he had his platoon system where the Sunday game, say, for example, the Red Sox series, where if it was a guy is supposed to have a scheduled day off, you just schedule day off it. He wouldn't be, bending in that way. And then just some of the analytics stuff, lineup changes and whatnot. I don't know. I guess, you are what your record is. So, you got to look at what David Bell's record was as the Reds manager, and you kind of have to say, that's the type of team. I mean, you obviously argue that maybe David Bell isn't going to get the financial support that Tito may or may not get. We'll see at this trade deadline. That's going to be kind of a difference, but at the same time, they didn't DFA Jeimer Candelario when he stung for David Bell. So I'm not exactly sure what this team's going to look like after the trade deadline, but hopefully it's improved. Hopefully it's not just treading water and saying, we like the guys we got here. We're not going to try to disrupt what we got going, because we're still kind of in fourth place. We're not right there with the Cubs. We're barely like just hanging on to that 2 games out from the playoff wild card spot. But there's good teams that are in that hunt, right? Like the Giants, the Padres, the Diamondbacks. Like there's a bunch of good teams that are going to possibly push the Reds out of contention, if they have good second halves of the year. I mean, heck, even the Braves might have a resurgence like they did in 2021 and just roll off a bunch of wins and get into the playoffs somehow. You never know. But I'd like to see
anything can happen.
Yeah, I'd like to see them give Tito a chance with some reinforcements. That's at least.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that's the thing David Bell really didn't get. So that's like, that could be the one argument that I would agree with, is like this front office really didn't believe in the David Bell ball clubs enough to give him more help when he could have used it in 2023.
He did have 6 seasons to do something with an expanded playoff that no manager before the Reds had. And when we have a good manager, we make the playoffs. I mean, Dusty Baker got us to the playoffs. We had, I'd say, our best team in the 21st century in 2012. And I mean, yeah, we came up short. We lost to the Giants, but I mean, had Buster Posey not broken our hearts that series, I think we probably could have went on a run. And I don't know. You go from Dusty Baker to Brian Price, then from Brian Price to another first-time manager and David Bell. It's like, I don't know what you're trying to prove. Are you being serious by doing this? But then you go out and you go the complete 180 and you go out and you get Terry Francona. So it's like, I don't know. It's I wish David Bell would have had success, but David Bell also put him in places where he didn't have success either. Yeah, he trusted his computer too much. And I'm not anti-analytics. It's just when you rely on analytics, you take the human aspect out of the game. And like, these guys are human. You got to there's feel involved. And like, baseball is the biggest feel game there is. And if guys aren't feeling it, you just can't say, oh, well, the numbers are saying he's going to be good, but he might not be. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a lot more human touch with Tito. Example again, like I feel like I'm going to bring up this example all the time, but Andrew Abbott being let to go into the 8th inning and the 9th inning against the Guardians with a 1-run lead, like we joked, but it probably isn't a joke. But we probably thought that Abbott probably would have got pulled in the 6th if it was David Bell, and he would have just gone to the bullpen.
Probably does.
So it's kind of that's kind of the way it was. Like 2 different ways to manage. Like the Tampa Bay Rays under what's his name, Kevin Cash, kind of manages that way. They got to a World Series a couple times. It's kind of what it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do different things with your ball club. I don't know if we really have the roster that we can just purely go off analytics and kind of just depend on, like, this guy is going to be not good to the 3rd time through the inning when our bullpen's already been taxed so much this season. You know what I mean? So, like, the human element definitely is something that Francona's been bringing. And I don't know. I think he's getting a lot out of the guys. He's definitely, made them at least a more competent ball club, not running into outs as much. You know what I mean? Like, it's not chaos ball, but it's definitely we definitely can nitpick and think that they could have won this game, that game, and all that. But at the end of the day, they still have a winning record. They still have a chance.
And we're only 2 games out of a wild card.
Let's push our chips in, hopefully at the trade deadline a little bit, and see what happens, right? Before we get to that, we're going to talk about our minor league system. 3 up, 3 down. 3 guys that have been playing pretty well, and 3 guys that haven't. But for our 3 up, we got a trio of guys here. A guy that I was surprised to see this stat, because he was kind of Will Banfield Louisville Bats there, the catcher there. He was kind of promoted into the starting role at AAA because it was supposed to be Austin Wynns because the way they signed Trevino and Stevenson's the everyday guy or the starter for the most part. So like Banfield wasn't necessarily the guy that was supposed to start every day in Louisville, but he was. But he had struggled going into May, and since May 15th, he's been hitting 303 down there. So like, salute to him. We don't necessarily have great catching depth, but if he can be a serviceable player, you never know if there's injuries or whatnot. He could be hopefully a guy that could just be called up in a pinch and be serviceable. Double A, this guy, I think I'll turn the show over to you, but Mr. Austin Hendrick, he had himself a day. He's had himself a week. And also, since the start of June, he's been hitting 328 on the season. So shout out to him. Alfredo Dano, this is the other catcher in our system. That's the guy that's going to be representing us at the All-Star break for the Futures game. He's at a 31 game on-base streak. So, like, this guy is the catcher of the future, the Mike Piazza, if you will, the great hitting catcher that is promised to come. There's not many of them in baseball anymore. Obviously, the big dumper is having a heck of a year out there in Seattle, but if Alfredo Dano is what he's supposed to be, he's going to be a heck of a player.
Yeah, I couldn't have been more happy putting this list together with Austin Hendrick on there. I just had an article come out on him today. On him, when you look at his story and everything that's happened to the kid, like this is in reality is like his fourth season. Because he gets drafted in 2020. I don't know about how it was for you, where you are, or anybody else that's watching, but in 2020, there was kind of a big thing going on. And in Pennsylvania, more specifically in western Pennsylvania, he went to West Allegheny High School near Pittsburgh. And they actually canceled all sports post-March 2020. So he essentially gets drafted based off of junior year of high school. And in 2019, he plays for the Perfect Game organization for prep players. And he was highly rated. He was the 13th best player, according to MLB.com, and 9th, according to Baseball America. So he was a very highly ranked prospect coming out of high school. Yeah. And obviously, season gets shut down 2020. He gets drafted to Cincinnati. They didn't have a season for the minor leagues that year. They also reshuffle the minor leagues going into 2021. So he really didn't get rookie ball. He went straight to Daytona and played at low A. And if you're asking a high school junior to go into, I don't want to call it like a higher level, but he didn't go to the ACL. He didn't get any kind of coaching development at all.
Yeah.
And this is why I've always been just a big fan of his, just because I know, the numbers haven't been there his entire career. But you want to know what his what he's slashing this year?
Well, overall,
268 batting average, 342 on base, 476 slug. And I don't know about you, but we need outfielders. And he's just turned 24 last month. Still young. I think we forget. Tyler Stevenson got drafted in 2015, and he didn't get promoted until 2020. So that was 5 years. Maybe if you go by the full 5 years, 2026 is the year we see Austin Hendrick come up. And I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, not going to be an all-star, but maybe he comes up and becomes a league average hitter and a guy with power in his bat that we need, because what a story that would be.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And check out Ricky's stuff. He's got a new job. I don't know if we announced that on the show or not, because I
guess we haven't really. I guess
Ricky's now working with Mr. Jeff Carr, a guy that we were just interviewing, and Greg Kuffner, aka Reds Daily 4. So,
James Rapine. There's another guy. I forgot his name. Alex Frank.
Okay. Shout out to them. Sports Illustrated, Red Sox SI. So check that out. I wanted to get to Fred's comment about Stevenson, if they're going to move off of him. We've kind of, I don't know if Ricky, if we're on the same page as each other, but his, I think, control is up right when the CBA is up in right after the 2026 season, going into the 2027 season. I wouldn't be surprised knowing how frugal, to put it nicely, the Reds front office is that they won't extend him beyond that. They'll just keep re-upping his arbitration until 2026 is up, and then maybe he gets on a cheap deal because of the CBA changing the structure of contracts or whatnot. Or if he's not producing, 2027 might be the year that Alfredo Dano might be ready. So there may be a situation where, so long, see you later, Tyler Stevenson after the 26th season, and then maybe it's Alfredo Dano time. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, the comps on Alfredo Dano get me excited. Like very
He's only
excited.
19. He's only 19
He's
years
19, and he's got comps to Salvador Perez and Gary Sanchez. Like, that's his two comps coming into signing out of was it Venezuela? I want to say I don't think it's Dominican Republic. I could be wrong, but he looks big, stocky guy. He looks like Salvador Perez. Just if he could become 80% of Salvador Perez, I mean, we got our guy, and he's 19, and like you said, and I don't know, maybe he's ready in 2027. Maybe they signed Stevenson to like a cheap 3-year deal, kind of like a Trevino type deal we got.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, everyone talks about Stevenson being like the catcher of the future, of the future. Like he's 28. Like, I think we're forgetting how old he is already. He's been in the Red system for 10 years, and he hasn't stayed healthy relatively long. His best season besides last year was in 2020 in that short season, in his debut season. He was injured a lot in 22, had a rough stretch in 23 coming back from injuries. He's been somewhat healthy this year. He started off on the IL, but he struggled coming back, but then he got hot and he's kind of cooled off again. I don't know if they trust him long term to sign him long term. And I kind of like maybe Fred's onto something. Maybe not this season, maybe not next season, but maybe they get a cheap deal and then they work on trading him.
Yeah, I can see that I can see it happening. We'll see. I guess that's a couple years from now, but I don't know. Stevenson's kind of have to play for that contract if he wants it.
But let me talk about Austin Hendrick. No, I was just it was exciting. He goes 4 for 4, 2 home runs, walk-off single. That was the potential that we saw when we drafted him in 2020. And like William says, he's the kind of guy that you need to give them some pop. And if he could come up, let's just say 2 years from now, he'll be 26. That's still pretty young for a major leaguer. And he comes up, let's just say Benson figures it out and he's consistent, mostly against righties, but he's consistent. And you have, your two lefty outfielders are Hendrick and Benson, because Friedl's going to be gone in a couple years. So you have, let's just say, an outfield of CES in right, Hendrick in left, and Benson in center as your righty on righty split platoon.
Right.
And then maybe Hines figures it out and he's your everyday right-handed hitter. And maybe you have somebody like Sal Stewart or Cam Collier in the outfield as well. And because I don't know where, if Marte could play like how he's been playing, he's figured in the long-term solution at third base, I would believe. So Ellie's going to be at short no matter what. McLean, as long as he's productive, is going to be your second baseman. I think first base is where the hole's going to be. DH is where the hole's going to be, and then outfield. But yeah, Hendrick, man, I can't say enough. It got me excited. I was thrilled to see him
Yeah.
have a good week and a good game.
Yeah. Yeah. I even tee you up. I just figured after I stopped talking, we would just start talking Austin Hendrick and let you cook. What they say, let him cook. So, but yeah. Any other thoughts about these guys or any other guys in the system? I think Fred's talking about how he's been on the Dano train for a long time, even when Ellie was in the minors. That he was the second most important prospect. Yeah, man, I don't know, or for at least position players. So, like,
yeah, and Banfield, he's much needed catching depth should something happen to Trevino or Stevenson now that Hayes is gone or Wins is gone. Too many Austins, man. I get them confused. Now that Wins is gone, so you need catching depth, and if he's performing decently, he's your third catcher. But then you got to move somebody up, and then I don't know. There's a chance we could see Duno moved up to Dayton at some point this season.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's a good question. We got to keep our ear to the ground, figure out where these promotions, if they're happening maybe after the mid-season playoffs, because Chattanooga's in the mid-season playoff or whatever. So we'll see. Or maybe after the All-Star break, after, like Duno and Sal Stewart are done serving their time in the Futures games. We'll let you know. We'll cover it here in the minor system. Anything else, or should we get to our 3 down?
Yeah, let's go to the 3 down.
These guys have been pretty solid this season. The guys that we're going to be talking about, Jose Franco, the AAA, only lasted a third of an inning for the Bats. He gave up 6 runs, but his season stats kind of prove out that this is just a blip. He's 8-3 on the season with a 2.91 ERA. So, and kind of the same thing also for Edwin Arroyo. He had a rough stretch where he only went about 1 for 10, but he's had a pretty decent, season on the whole. He's not struggling completely, not like maybe like a Carlos Jorge down in Dayton or something like that. Then Easton Sikorsky down in Dayton. He went 2 innings and gave up 5 runs and a loss. But on the season, his ERA is 1.99 overall. So a lot of these guys are just having little blips. So hopefully this is just like the one time that we'll see a bunch of these guys on this 3 down. Do you have any thoughts on these guys?
Sikorsky, he's one that me and Nick Kirby's been mostly Nick Kirby kind of got me turned on to him because he's been like out of nowhere. He's never really been on any kind of Reds list or anything. I never even knew who he was. Shows up to Dayton and was just dominant reliever, just getting guys out. He's a little on the older side. I think he's 24, I believe. So he's a little older. And Jose Franco, he's been pretty good this season too. He's 8-3, 2.91 ERA. Just a blip in the road. A lot of these guys really. Edwin Arroyo, kind of a surprise. He actually fell off the Reds out of the top 100 for the Reds, and he's still a top prospect for them. But his offense hasn't been what you hope, and his defense hasn't been as good as advertised, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a part of Cam Collier and Sal Stewart just setting the world on fire for Chattanooga as well. But
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully this is just because I don't think we've had Arroyo on the 3 down all year. So maybe it's just a blip in the road.
No, yeah, I forgot about that. He did not make the top 100. He got knocked off the list, but a bunch of guys did get shot up the list. Shout out to you for also covering that. Dano got onto the top 100 list. Was he 93 or something like that?
Yes.
Louder moved up, even though he's been hurt all year, which is confusing to me. And then Chase Burns was number 2 overall behind Roman Anthony for that list. So shout out to those guys. Probably forgetting a couple, but shout out to that list of guys that you profiled, I think, this week, right? Or was that your first or your second piece?
That was my second piece. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So shout out to those guys for making the top 100. I think we had 6 in the top 100, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, and I guess not really a 3 up, 3 down, but minor league talk. Signing the guy out of France, Jordan Owanyu, I think is how you say his name.
Yep.
First baseman. He's super talented. I think he's the first player for the 2026 class to declare who he's going to sign with.
Really?
there's no stats on him, but he's a lefty, 6'1", 192, and he's only 17 years old. So maybe we see him in the ACL next year, and then we're talking about him on the 3 up, 3 down.
Yeah, for sure. He's going to start in the DSL, and we definitely need outfielders one way or another. And shout out to Fred. He looks like he's got an early job like you, Rick.
Yep.
So shout out to Fred. Well, thanks for stopping by, chatting. Anything else about these guys before we move on about the week?
No, there's just a blip in the road for these guys.
Yeah, for sure. These are 3 good guys that just had a couple stretch, a little bit of struggle, but nothing terrible to really talk about it. And this week's going to be interesting. It's 7 games. I think this is the first time in a while that we had no off days for the week. 4 games against the hated Marlins, who seemingly get our goat every once in a while. Especially this season, they took 2 out of 3 in that road trip in Miami, and then we got the Rockies. Which, come on, let's be real. If we don't win this series, or at least get 3 out of 3 wins, then we got to have some serious conversations, because they are dreadful. Like I told you, I watched a bunch of White Sox Rockies games at my dad's house, and I don't know why, but I guess I was just hoping that the White Sox would win a series, and they did. Can you believe it? They beat the lowly lowly Rockies, who 20 wins on the season going into the All-Star. Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. What are your thoughts about this upcoming week?
Yeah, we have Brady Singer going tomorrow. I got it pulled up. The Marlins have just hit 188 against him, and that's the 3rd lowest among teams he's faced more than 1 time. So that's hopefully a good sign of what could happen. But their pitcher is Jansen Junk. He had a quality start his last outing against Minnesota, where he had 2 runs in 6 innings. So hopefully we can kind of jump on him. He's got a ERA at almost 5 in his last 3 games, 19 hits, 13 strikeouts, no walks in his last 3 games. So gotta be aggressive, I guess. If he's not going to put the ball out of the zone, we got to just hit the guy, I guess. But yeah, I like that. And then I think Hunter Green is going to throw a rehab assignment in Louisville this week.
Really?
So that could be a good sign for him to come back after the All-Star break. So hopefully we can tread above water. I would love to see a 5-2 homestand. That'd be like best case scenario 7-0. It's not likely, but I mean, if you can get hot and you could end up 9 games over 500 going into the All-Star break, you couldn't. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, we'd love to see that if we can. I mean, like, heck, I mean, I don't know. The last sweep that they had was against, like, who'd they last sweep? It's been a while since we've taken 3 or taken all the games in the series. It feels like. I'm trying not to sound like, it's been such a long time since we swept a team, but like, it would be lovely to see that happen for our Redlegs, at the very least against the Rockies, going right into the All-Star break. But the Abbott start that's happening against the Marlins is against probably the best pitcher for Miami, Sandy Alcantara. So that might be a game where you take 3 out of 4 against Miami. You know, obviously you don't want it to hurt Abbott's chances of getting in the All-Star game, but that should be hopefully determined by then, if anything. But I don't know. I guess it's still up in the air if he'll be an injury replacement or not. He's definitely – I want to make this the Andrew Abbott show, but he's definitely at least – he's got to be at least worth a chance if somebody's going to possibly get out. Like it happened with Hunter last year, you know, getting the injury replacement shout-out or, you know, all-star appearance. But, dang, man, like I don't know. It would stink to have a guy that's pitching his tail off so much not get that reward.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going back. The last time we swept somebody was when Arizona came into town, and then the time before that was when Cleveland was in town. So the last 2 sweeps have been at home. Yeah,
and that was the beginning of June, right?
So it's been a month.
So like we're due for our July sweep. If it's the 4 games or the 3, I'll take either one, right?
Or both.
Or both. Yeah, 7 games.
You'd be greedy.
Hey, I you know what? We haven't been. Like Mike Ballantyne, shout out to him, for his show 643 and Out. He's always telling us to be more positive. You say 5-2, I say 6-1 should be.
Let's go.
Let's just do it. Like, let's get above 50. What would put them at 52 wins going into the All-Star break?
Yeah, that puts Terry at over 2,000 wins.
Oh, how many is it weigh now?
4.
4?
Yep.
All right, mark your calendars. When Train comes to town on that Thursday game, that's going to be going for the which is a 3,000th win. So let's do it. Why not? Clayton Kershaw got into the All-Star game for honorary All-Star. Why can't we put Tito in if he wins his 3,000th? Huh?
I agree. Why isn't that a conversation? He's one of the best managers alive.
Well, he hasn't won his 3,000th yet. Kershaw got his, 3,000 strikeouts. So now he's a made man, but a made Hall of Famer. But I guess why not? Like, I don't know. Let's put a phone call into Rob Manfred that if Tito gets 3,000 before the All-Star break, honorary manager. Like, what's the harm?
Just give him his rocker out there in the dugout.
He's not retiring this year, Rick. I mean, come on. Hopefully not.
I don't think so. I think
unless they win the World Series. If they win the World Series, he can retire.
I don't know. I think he still wants to win. I just think he likes being around baseball.
He's a sicko like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Shout out to William Wright being in the chat. Yeah, definitely 5 or 6 of the 7 games against those pitiful ball clubs. But I guess I shouldn't be too boastful. The Marlins have been hot of late. They're somehow winning games, kind of like how the Pirates were winning games, before. But maybe then the Reds will play up to their opponent since the Marlins are so hot. So you got to be careful about those Rockies. They're definitely not playing up to their potential at all.
So I got a interesting nugget for you. We were talking about bad teams. We're coming up on the Rockies series as well. Did you know that the Pittsburgh Pirates are only 10.5 games out of a wild card spot?
Are you joking?
I am serious.
And
they are 2 games behind Atlanta, and Miami is 7 games back of a wild card. So if we can go out and put Miami in their place in their season, like Detroit did last year to us, and we kind of got Detroit going last year. So maybe Miami could be our Cincinnati to what Cincinnati was to Detroit last year. I don't know if I said that right.
Sure.
But
we got
it works. And, Miami's 7 games back. If we can put them behind, Colorado's 27 games out of a wild card spot. So, I mean, if we could just show these teams that we belong, we got to beat up on the bad teams. And I'm not saying Miami's a bad team, but they're 8 games under 500. We gotta play these teams better than what we have.
Sure.
And if we can put these teams in their place, I like where we're at.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, maybe we'll meet the Marlins where they're at, which they're kind of a hot streak. So that would hopefully bode well for the Reds to.
Yeah, they're 7-3 in their last 10.
That's crazy. It's crazy also that the Brewers have been playing so well of late too.
Pittsburgh's 6-4. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. That they had that 3-game sweep against the Cardinals just a week ago or so. So my goodness, and if the Pirates were in the AL, they'd be even closer to a wild card because the AL wild card's 500 gets you in the playoffs.
Do you know Pittsburgh's 26-21 at home this year?
Wow. Okay. Watch out. We go to PNC in September, so
they're 12-32 on the road.
Yikes. That's rough.
The Rockies have pretty even splits though. They're 10-36 at home and 11-33 on the road. So
they just stink everywhere.
They just stink. 24 wins. 21 wins this year.
Good for them. They won today, that means. Because they had 20 for a long time.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not a Rocky show, not a Pirate show. But any other thoughts about this upcoming week or anything else you got going this week, Rick?
No, not really. I might try to think of something to write about I got to start getting into that a little bit more than I have been. So
you got a new job. You gotta get working.
I still do edit for Mike though. We like sports, so it's a lot of fun. I was trying to put. I don't want to throw any shade at anybody, but I was trying to put out. Somebody had a trade deadline piece, and it was pending for review, and I was just like, man, I can't post this. There's too many similarities on different topics, and I'm just like, man, I'll get with Mike on it later. But man, I was like, man, I want to put it out, but man, it's out there. A lot of takes. Gotcha. And then, funny enough, a lot of Reds takes. Reds going for outfielders and Reds going for pitching. So it's interesting to see that. And anything to help Mike out. I like Mike a lot. He's a good dude. He's helped me out a lot over my last year and a half. He's been a big supporter of this show. He's had me and you on his show a couple times, and it's a lot of fun. And anytime he wants to come on here, he's always welcome. So it's always a good time with Mike. He's a good dude, and he's a terrific host. I hope nothing but the best for him with his show, because that's a good show. I don't know if anybody's on this chat ever watched his show. I usually retweet it if you follow me on X. So it's the 643 and Out pod. The Sports Truth is what his podcast title is called. And they talk about NBA, NFL, baseball. They throw some hockey in there sometimes, boxing sometimes. They have a good thing going, him and Gabriel. So I really like their show a lot. And
yeah, usually Tuesdays at like 8 p.m. our time, Eastern, right? Like
9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Eastern, post daylight savings, and then from November to March, it's 8 p.m. because Arizona doesn't have daylight savings.
Oh, okay. Good to know. But,
yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday night.
I told him, I was like, it's easier to get on your show when it's like November through March, because it's an hour earlier for me. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he goes real late sometimes. But yeah.
Good show, though. Nights. Good show.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. And Rick, no Chatterbox pregame shows or nothing this week?
I have Friday.
All right, the Rocky series. That's going to be a City Connect Friday, right before the All-Star break, right?
It should be, yeah. Hopefully it's a good fireworks Friday and a win.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great going into the All-Star break. The draft's coming up as well on Sunday, and home run derby. No Ellie, but home run derby is always a classic on Monday, and then mid-season classic on Tuesday night. Also shout out Greg Kuffner is coming on the show on Wednesday, 8 p.m. We'll be going live with Mr. Greg Kuffner, aka Red Daily, aka Ricky's new coworker.
The editor for my stuff.
Yeah, okay, so he's your boss, kind of. Right?
Kind of, yeah.
That works.
I usually shoot him ideas. Like, is this any good? He's like, no. I'm like, all right, I'll fix it.
He's doing a good thing over there. He's got a lot of followers as well. So shout out to him and his channel. Queen City Sports, Reds Daily. I forget what the name of his channel is. Something like that. Look it up. We'll put it in our description when he gets on the show as well. Wednesday.
It is Cincinnati Reds Daily / Reds Daily 4.
Okay, there you go. So shout out to him. But yeah, anything else you got before we sign off?
No, just go Reds, man. Hopefully we can get a good week, 7 games of baseball.
Go Reds.
We're the Reds. Red hot.